and welcome to the LinkedIn Collective Studio at McCann. I'm Tanya Garrett, and I will be your host for our discussion on the future of B2B. Today's B2B marketing leaders are facing challenges unlike any we've seen in our careers. Before, the B2B marketing function is resilient, but its leaders are finding new ways to drive influence, impact, and growth. Today, I'm joined by 4 leading agency voices in B2B marketing to discuss the trends and the topics set to redefine our industry in the next few years. I'd like to now welcome my first set of panelists, Wesley Haar and Stephanie Nerlich, Global President of McCann and the founder of Media.Monks. So let's dive in. Okay. One of the most significant findings from our B2B benchmark this year is a change in sentiment among B2B organizations. Last year, B2B leaders, when surveyed, said they felt optimistic about the future. It's good. This year, we're hearing that leaders feel confident. They are confident in their own abilities and those of their teams in an ever-changing marketing landscape. Stephanie, let's start with you. What do you think is driving this confidence in the future of B2B?
Sure. I think you go from optimism to confidence is kind of a natural progression. I think it's for a couple of reasons. I think there are organizations like LinkedIn and McCann that are really getting behind creativity in B2B, right? That lifts up everybody. But if you really think about the global economy, 65% of the global economy is in B2B, right? If we really think about the sectors that are driving things, it's the B2B economy today. So marketers are going where the market is. And you're getting, more and more, really great talent going to that space. I think that gives confidence to everybody, to their organizations, to themselves, to their peers.
They sound amazing.
They are.
I think, to your point, I think there's some industry pressures, but B2B is so directly connected to the business part that I don't think that part of the industry feels the same pressure. I also think there's a general sense of growth of importance. I think there's more creative celebration in those spaces, influx of talent, bigger budgets, because I think there's been sort of a maturation of that space, where it's no longer seen as purely sort of bottom of the funnel type stuff. And then, not because we're here, but I think LinkedIn has done a lot to sort of celebrate the space. And you can see, I think, just in the general landscape, a lot of where people used to spend their time, which was more maybe what we call traditional social channels. That has lost some of the energy, but then you see LinkedIn actually pick up a lot of that energy. So I can imagine if you're in those spaces, you see that happening, and even if you might not be able to completely formulate why it's happening, it makes you feel like you're in the right spot. So
that sounds good. Yes. Well, of course, we cannot have a panel and talk about the future of B2B without mentioning the topic of AI. So Wes, I'd love to hear from you. Like, how will AI impact marketing profession, and how can we leverage it in the best way possible?
Yeah, I'm the AI guy, so I get to say AI 15,000 times
all
a day.
All the time.
I think it's all versions of the same component. I think if you think about marketing, there's a lot of work that we're doing from a professional perspective, both on the client side and the agency side, that just feels like you have to go through the motions, you know what needs to get done, but you have to do all of the steps in silos along the way. And it feels like the early indicators is that AI can actually take a lot of that off your plate. And maybe it's not prompt to output, but it's prompt to speed up 80% of your workflow to output. So I think, and especially in the B2B space, I think people are feeling that that's very empowering. They can be more personal, more personable, more real-time, more reactive, more responsive, and all of that sort of sits in that space in a meaningful way. I think sometimes here in McCann, there's a little bit of anxiety in the air around AI. I think broadly we have to be excited because it allows us to start delivering some of the original promises that we made when we talked about digital marketing back in the day, right? It's highly personalized, it's close to real time, it's contextual, all of those things. AI is actually a massive unlock. So
that's great. AI helping us deliver on those promises. So of course, we are here in McCann, and we have to talk about creativity. As we've all witnessed over the past few days, there is truly a real appetite to push the boundaries and innovate in the B2B space. Stephanie, I'd love to hear your perspective on what trends do you think will really define B2B creativity in the years to come?
Well, I think we've been talking a lot, I think in the years past, a lot about purpose, right? And there's anxiety around, are we talking about purpose? We can't talk about manufactured purpose anymore. But if you think about some of the great B2B brands out there, sometimes we don't even think of them as B2B brands. Think about State Street, Years ago, we put Fearless Girl into the world, right? That was about really championing diversity within that organization in terms of gender diversity when they were launching a she fund. Critically, but that was a B2B audience, but it reached millions. Yes. If you think about MasterCard and the work that just won this week in B2B creativity, it's really using data to drive, impactful creativity. In that case, allowing, Ukrainians to be able to find places to settle in Poland. So really, really impactful ways of using creative ideas in a B2B space.
And Wes, I know you've judged plenty of creative. I'd love to hear your perspective on it as well.
Yeah, it's like, I think we've gone, I remember what we used to say back in the day, right? The B2B audience is also a consumer, and how do you sort of bring that consumer point of view in those spaces? But it, to me, feels like we're past that now. I think we sort of get that. I think we're seeing higher levels of craft and quality in what used to be relatively straightforward work. And to me, in the B2B space, you have some amazing examples there, but we get to do big creative ideation and sort of craft and production quality. And we get very close to being able to measure results. So there is a point to make that we can actually be a bit more specific sometimes, and is the work working? Because you tend to be really close to conversion and conversation in the B2B space. So I think it's quite a well-suited space to do great creative, because we know great creative tends to work.
Both of you as leaders, if you just had one piece of advice for a B2B marketing leader navigating what's ahead, what would that be? And again, what do they need to really prioritize now to ensure future success? Well,
clearly hire one of us.
Exactly. Or together.
Or together.
Duo, okay. Yeah. You're hearing it first.
I do think there's sort of a change in ways of working and workflow, and how technology enables organizations to do more, do it at higher speed, do it at higher quality and craft. So I think from some of the research we saw that people are educating themselves, which I think is really strong. I think realistically it's not just going to be about people incrementally getting better at their job, but it's also the change of how we do the work as a whole organization. Yeah. So I think that's sort of the next phase, is really thinking about organizational change to get full value from the technological change. Yeah. That's my recommendation.
I think for sure I'd echo that. I think we as a collective marketing class have to spend time really figuring out how to, automate at scale, so we can deliver one-to-one systems. I know these guys have it really well. We have it pretty well too, but in order to then free them up to do other things. But I think it's about a learning agenda. You have to be voraciously curious, right? If you're not interested in learning and the power of change and all those good things, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yes.
So you have to create the conditions in your organizations and a real learning agenda.
Yeah, as we always say, always be learning.
Absolutely.
Always be learning. Well, Wesley and Stephanie, thank you both so much for joining us today and sharing your really thoughtful insights. And for those of you, please stay with us for more on the future of B2B after this very sneak preview of our documentary, Everybody's Business, which is about the evolution of B2B marketing.
If you want to make a difference, you'd work for a B2B company.
B2B.
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 B2B stands for business to business. The company that makes things not to sell to you, but to sell to other companies. And if you're into marketing, you'd work in the marketing organization of that company.
When people talk about marketing, they're thinking about only the marketing that could help the companies to sell something. But marketing is not only this. Marketing is a way to mobilize minds.
B2B is what drives most human endeavors. And so our next step is to make sure that a renaissance in creativity occurs. Cannes Lion is the ultimate festival of creativity in the advertising and marketing world.
It's like the World Cup of creativity.
Yes, we're selling to a company, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring.
Everybody's human, everybody has a heart. We just had to get the people's heart.
And we had to make a noise.
Creativity can come from anywhere. 35 years ago, there wasn't LinkedIn and social media. They found each other and created magic. So I think we've got to use the technology that we have at our fingertips today to find creatives from around the world.
To be on the Palais stage representing the B2B world, it's incredible. This is B2B's decade.
That's the future. Using creative to change the world.
Welcome back to the LinkedIn Collective Studio in Cannes. I am now joined by Chris Bagnall, CEO of Transmission, and Melissa Berger, Chief Solution Officer at Digitas. Let's dive into our questions, shall we? So, we're talking about the trends set to take shape in our industry in the coming years. And one statistic from our newly launched B2B marketing benchmark reports really stood out to me. Some of the 67% of marketing leaders say they have increased their investment in brand building, while 88% of CMOs say they are advocating for bolder creative campaigns. That's a good thing. Melissa, if I could start with you. B2B is often criticized, as we know, for lacking creativity and not investing enough in brand. What do you think is driving this shift in focus now?
So a few things. Pressure. Let's be real, that's a really big challenge right now. But the fact that Cannes is even investing in B2B Creative Awards is incredible. Yesterday, I was fortunate enough to join the B2B Leadership Forum, and we learned so many amazing things. And really going back to not being boring, there is emotion for a B2B buyer, right? Because I loved the term fear of messing up. And so what that means is people are fearful of their job. They want to make sure they're making the right decision, so that is emotional. So being able to balance bringing, the lead generation and the really kind of hard B2B tactics we've always used with creativity, I think can really drive a lot of results for CMOs, and we saw some of those yesterday.
The fear of messing up.
The fear of messing up. Best term I've heard at Cannes.
I know. Chris, what was your perspective on these findings?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think we have to surface time and time again the great creativity that's actually driving tangible results. I mean, things like Cannes are great. We're surfacing great creativity. It's great that the awards have a measurement criteria to the actual awards process, which is great. It's what we need. But I think nowadays, if we're going to convince our businesses to be more creative, to put more investment, more time into creativity, then we need tangible examples that are driving demonstrable results from businesses. We need events like this to surface them. We need to time and time again concentrate on how it has changed businesses for the good. Because we need to be able to take that evidence into the board, into the broader business, and convince other stakeholders in the C-suite that this is something they need to invest in. They need to take it seriously. That's the only way we're going to continue to prove the point and move forward as an industry.
Perfect. It's a great segue to my next question, Chris. That we know creativity is important, but as you just said, so are the results. Especially now with changes in the privacy and legislative landscape, means there is a renewed focus on B2B measurement and the ROI. How is measurement in B2B evolving, and what are trends that we are likely to see in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely believe that we need to be holding everybody accountable in the business to three measures, right? Their contribution to brand, pipeline, and revenue. And it's up to CEOs in the business and other senior stakeholders to explain to all individuals within the business how their role pertains to brand, pipeline, and revenue. We have been for far too long concentrating on the wrong metrics. We still see way too many random acts of marketing in our roles, and we need to move away from that. We need to concentrate on the metrics that matter, not the CPCs and the CTRs and the MQLs. We need to concentrate on metrics that companies actually care about, boards care about, finance people care about, CEOs care about. So we need to concentrate on things like LTV, CAC, so lifetime value of customers, customer acquisition costs, the metrics that are going to be able to allow us to prove the value of marketing longer term. We have to, well, thankfully, we've moved away from this sort of growth at all cost mentality within business. We're now very much moving, and have been for the last couple of years, into driving efficient growth, and that is about driving profitable growth for businesses, and those are the ones that are going to be successful longer term.
Yes, I want a T-shirt, metrics that matter.
Yeah.
So next up, as we talk about results, there's also, let's talk about the B2B marketing organization of the future. What is it going to take? So our benchmark report also identified 9 essential characteristics required for the B2B marketing team of the future. Data interpretation, creative thinking, and collaborative communication are among the traits identified. Chris, in your opinion, what do you view as the most important skill a marketer must possess?
I think marketing is changing. I think the days of us viewing marketing as we have done of late as the promotions department are gone. I grew up learning the 4 Ps of marketing, you know, and sadly, because of the complexity of the promotional side of what we do as a business, we have been marginalised into the promotions department. I think for us to be able to move forward and demonstrate our value to the broader business, we have to focus on the other Ps, product, place and price. And we have to be able to convince the organisation and work with other stakeholders in the business to demonstrate how marketing can play a role in collaborating with colleagues within the business around those other functions. Because again, those are the functions that help the overall business physically work properly. And if we want marketing as a voice in the room, in the boardroom, dare I say it, then we need to be able to demonstrate our value more consistently around a fuller mix of marketing.
Melissa, additional thoughts there?
Absolutely. I thought it was interesting yesterday learning about kind of the shift into the relationship era. And that's where, from my perspective, I'm a loyalty and CRM person at heart. So LTV, speak my language. I think it's really important for empathy, for understanding. And I love that the focus on skills seems like it's more important than I've been in this business for 25 years and I've worked at these amazing companies. That's incredible. But I think, you know, what people are starting to look for is, can you have a conversation? Can you build a relationship? Can you actually understand a customer's business problem and solve it? So I think that's really where I loved that you've 1 billion members now on LinkedIn. Incredible. And that's so much rich data and information that can be leveraged to think about how you hire the types of people that you're looking for in your workforce of the future.
And it's a great segue, as you mentioned, about these skills. But in the same vein, what do you view, Melissa, as the most important skill a B2B leader or CMO need to possess in order to succeed in this marketing organization of the future?
Oh man, is there a word that melds empathy and charisma
into one?
Let's make one. But I really do think, you know, being an active listener and having that empathy of understanding their business is probably, I would say, number one. But charisma is huge, right? I mean, you don't rise to the top and become a CMO if you don't have that passion and kind of excitement around your business and your clients. So again, maybe we'll make a new word here today.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Chris, additional perspective?
So, I mean, we conducted this research study last year that was looking at the relationship between the CMO and the other C-suite counterparts within all businesses. We polled about 400 CMOs and B2B CFOs, and we looked at the relationship between those stakeholders in the business, and the results were basically defined that most of the C-suite don't have confidence that marketing is going to drive any particular commercial value longer term from its investments. So this year we wanted to dig into it in a little bit more detail, given there's only something like 2.5% of boards that actually even have marketing representation. So this year we conducted a study called Building the Board Ready B2B CMO, right? And we're announcing it this week. Some of the findings are pretty staggering. Something like 2/3 of all B2B CMOs that we surveyed, and there were over 300 around the world, had strong career aspirations in the next 3 or 4 years to serve on a board. But only 8% of those individuals had any confidence whatsoever that they were going to be asked based on their current skills and experience. Why is that? When we dug into the detail, it boiled down to 3 things. One, they were struggling to drive commercial return from the investments. 2, they were struggling to collaborate with colleagues on broader go-to-market strategy. And 3, they struggle with the financial acumen to have an intelligent, proper conversation with the broader board. So to your point around skills, marketing need to re-skill in order to refit their role within business moving into the future.
Reskill and making up a new term to combine those words. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Chris and Melissa, once again, and to Wesley and Stephanie who joined us earlier. This has truly been a very thought-provoking discussion. I wish we had more time, but that's all from us here at the LinkedIn Collective Studio in Cannes. Thank you for watching, and for more B2B marketing insights, please check out our B2B Marketing Benchmark Report. Take care.